Alright, I just want to share, I'm doing this 1.6 liter Ford engine, and there's no mount on the front of the car. You've got this big one right here that holds the front of the engine up, and there's a dog bone underneath, and then you have the main transmission mount on the back. So when you're doing these, you're supposed to pull all of this windshield cowling, and I believe the headlights too. At the very minimum, the windshield cowling, so you can get the engine support bar up here, and then you're supposed to have an arm that comes to the front so that you can hook to this main bracket here. But this bracket is coming off, so we can't really use this lift point. So what I've done, okay, so from underneath here, what I did is I ran a couple of ratchet straps. So I hooked onto the AC bracket right here because we're not pulling that off. And then I went around the main frame. I don't know if you can see it, but I hooked all the way on top, and there's a fin just like this one on the top. So I put my hook over it so it can't pull off. And then I tightened up my straps. You just want to make sure you're not over any sharp edges that are going to cut it. This looks pretty good back here. And then on the back I hooked onto the manifold cap bracket because it's got several bolts in it. And then I came around under the engine so I can keep it from twisting, dropping it in the front of the car. And then I have this one here to keep it from shifting in the bay in any direction pretty much. So this is a way you could do it without having an engine support bar and still be able to have free workspace. I think this is going to work out pretty well. And then obviously we got our water pump. Let's see. Yeah, I can't get this fully out yet, but we're going to work on that. And then we have to get to this back bolt right here. This is actually a plug that you put a pin in so that it holds it at top dead center when you try to do stuff. So we had to pull the axle shaft, pulling the lower ball joint, which was a real pain because it has a through bolt here that clamps it together, and this is very corroded. It has not been apart, so it was pretty difficult. This is one of the more difficult things about this job. I used a big pickle fork in here and got it separated, and out she came. So anyway, that's a pretty quick, easy way to do it without an engine mount support up top, and we're gonna get this job done. So we're down to this point. We got our holder in. You can see the arrow pointing up, and it just goes into those notches. Before we did that, we had to bring our engine around and around, and then we put our service pin right here. There was a plug that goes there. There we are. So that was in place of that. So you got to pull this out and install your service pin, and then rotate the engine clockwise till it hits the stop. And then you can put your holder in. If you want to rotate it so your little dots here are about 11 o'clock position, put your service pin in, rotate it until it stops, and then your holder fits right in. Okay, that's going to hold everything in place for us. Alright, the hardest part about this was getting the damn crank pulley off. There's just nowhere to grab it in here, and it's pressed on. Not real hard, but it's a pretty tight fit. So what I had to do, it came off really easy. I just set up my slide hammer, with the double claws, and I held it around the outside of the pulley. Just gave a couple whacks, and it came right off. But you just got to make sure that you're on that pin when you take it off, so that the belt and everything is in the right spot when you put it back together. I think that's about it. We're going to go ahead and replace that water pump up there to see how bad it is. I mean, it was just awful. Terrible. As soon as I pulled the belt off, it started pouring out. So it was definitely time to go. I'm just putting this together, and when I did the timing belt and everything, which is pretty simple, you just put the belt over the camshaft and around the crank, and then release the tensioner with your holder in place, and the crank pulley will just spin however it wants, wherever it rests. So that's at top dead center because we locked our pin in, and we're against the pin. And now that I cleaned all the the stub of the crankshaft off, I cleaned it with some brake cleaner, and I cleaned the inside of this and everything. This just slides right on. Okay, this is how it should be, and this is why you have to have it at top dead center before you release everything. So do not release the crank pulley bolt until you have it at the top dead center position. Okay, because things can get pretty difficult from there and possibly damage. So we're going to do our tightening procedure with our brand new bolt. And our brand new Ford bolt right from Ford. Here's the part number. And we got BE8Z6A340-A. 1 times, okay? So it's a brand new tortilla bolt. And we're going to follow the tightening procedure for that. It's a 18 millimeter head. Let's go see what the computer says. Okay. That's the accessory drive belt, which is a stretch belt, by the way. So you just gotta basically pry it over while you're rotating the crankshaft to go on and off with it. Okay. So for the timing belts procedure, okay, there's our holder. E49165 is the factory number. Locking pin tool number 303748. Support bar, I don't do that, I just use some straps over the bottom of the engine. Let's see, the lower down here. Okay. Okay. Okay, we can see we have the garbage can symbol here. Do not reuse the crank pulley bolts. Okay, there's a fancy holding tool. There's the belt installation. Okay, the first torque is 74 foot-pounds. Then we remove the service locking tool. Remove the camshaft tool, and we tighten the crankshaft pulley bolt at 90 degrees, wait a little bit, 2 seconds, and then another 15 degrees. I'm not sure how they want you to hold the crankshaft. I'm probably going to use a chain wrench and probably a piece of rubber around the belt grooves just to hold it in place. Use a good strap wrench, just don't damage the teeth of the pulley. Okay, so after you've gotten the tight on the crank pulley bolt, you can see there I have some marks. You can see there on the side. That's how far the bolt went. It was lined up with those marks, and now it traveled all the way over there, just past 90. Okay, so now I've rotated the engine over a couple times. And I've got my marks about 11 o'clock. Okay, so we're going to take our service tool and we're going to go ahead and place it right in the hole again. Alright, so we're all the way in. Now, the last part of this procedure is rotating it until we hit the lock again. Okay, I'm against it. Alright, we're doing this for the first time on camera. Okay, we got our holder, our lock. And this puppy should just slide right in. And it does. Little. That's a pretty tight fit on that one cam, but yeah, it goes in. So that's the last part to verify that the crankshaft didn't move during the torque sequence. If you're off a little bit, you have potential to bend the valve. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're against the stop and the tool fits in. Can't get the water pump pulley off until you remove the alternator. Okay, and while I was here, I just wanted to show you. Let's see if I can. There. So those are the hooks that I hooked over the frame rail from underneath. Okay, and it holds the engine plenty sturdy. If you're having trouble getting your water pump pulley bolts off, or also to tighten them, simply place a screwdriver across two of the bolt heads, whichever direction you're going, to hold it, and tighten one on the other side. Okay? Alright everybody, for this alternator bolt, the stud, this is like a torque spit on the end. It takes an E8, okay? It's a reverse torque spit, okay? It's an external torque spit, okay? Because the torques are external. So that, it was pretty loose, came off pretty easy. Also, you can get this this plug here after you pull all the bolts out. It makes it a lot easier to get to. That tab was pretty stiff for me. It had been in a while. So that's just a little tip.